Hello, everyone. So I'm here to talk about should we have a should we go get a some form of insurance policy, so to speak, on Kirk Cousins? I think we probably should, just because. Did you see the game? It wasn't very good, and if he doesn't get out of the funk, we're kind of screwed. That's kind of how this is. Like, do you really trust A1 Sean Mannion to get into the game and then play well if they are forced to bench Kirk Cousins for Sean Mannion? I think the answer is no. And then you come to the whole thing of, well, who is there they want to go get? Because I know people like Kyle Sloter, but I think we can comfortably say that that bridge is effectively burned, and he's probably not going to be coming back. So that brings us to now, which is who do you go and get? And I don't want to be crucified for this, but the one I got is Brock Osweiler. And once again, I know what that sounds like. He got himself a pretty bad rep in, Houston, where, and Cleveland to a degree, I would guess you would say. But because Houston ended up giving Cleveland a 2017 sixth rounder and a 2018 second to essentially just get him out of Houston, which isn't a good look. But if you were to look at the numbers, he isn't that bad, so to speak, in terms of at least a player of what we can get right now. Because for his career, he only has a career completion percentage of 59.8, and then he has a touchdown interception ratio for his career of 37 to 31, yards per attempt of a 6.4, a 78.0 quarterback rating, and the highest QBR he's ever gotten was a 53.0, which I know aren't great numbers, but the year I really want to focus on here is the 2015 year, which was the first year he got real playing time, which he completed 61.8% of his passes, threw for nearly 2,000 yards, threw 10 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, 7.2 yards per attempt, an 86.4 quarterback rating, had that QBR at 53.0, and had a quarterback record of 5-2. So practically that entire coaching staff from 2015 is in Minnesota right now. So that is what led him to that year and what led him to getting a big payday in Houston with the Texans. And they had a very similar build to what this Viking team has, which is, even though they don't really have the production from the defense that the 2015 Bronco defense had, which was nearly historic, if not historic, you have still a pretty good defense in place. And you do have a running game, which that came on late with C.J. Anderson, for people who do remember that Super Bowl run they had in 2015. And you do have outside weapons where instead of Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, this time around you would have Thielen and Diggs. So is he a world beater by any means? Probably not. And he is just a game manager that kind of stepped in for a legend in Peyton Manning and had a shoddy line, and had success. So, is he for sure going to be better than Kirk Cousins? I cannot say he is for sure better than Kirk Cousins, because if you were to watch Brock Osweiler's best game versus Kirk Cousins' best game, you would just point to Kirk and be like, he's much better, because he's just a lot more talented of a player than Brock Osweiler will ever be. But that's not really what I'm coming in with this. But if Cousins doesn't fix his things going on here, this is kind of a move that might be needed. You have so much familiarity. You have so much similarity between his best year and this team right here. If Kirk Cousins is to falter even more, who do you need to put in? Because you can't. Because I imagine if you're looking at Spielman and Zimmer and asking them about this, if you were to give them a truth serum, so to speak, they probably wouldn't want to continue to keep plotting out Kirk Cousins, knowing that this is probably a year where if they don't make the playoffs, they might be fired. That's a real possibility. So you kind of need to fix this. If Kirk Cousins keeps losing them games, you need to find a guy who can do this. And Brock Osweiler stepped into a situation before with a struggling Peyton Manning who got hurt, even though there were a lot of people at the time, at least from what I remember, questioning if he was really hurt or if he was just playing so poorly they needed to bench him. And you can't just say, oh, we benched Peyton Manning. You can't bench just Peyton Manning. That's not how that works. So you put him on with a injury designation, and all of a sudden you put Brock Osweiler out there, who would kind of fit this offense better if you look at it from Peyton to Brock, at least, and what the goal is, which is to pretty much run it and center this around play action boots, which Osweiler has not great mobility, but he's mobile enough to get outside the pocket and is willing to run. So he kind of just worked better. So I remember people arguing, oh, look, they just didn't want to bench Peyton and put him on the injury report pretty much. And if you were to get this guy on a minimum deal, he's working with the same coaches. It's virtually the same offense, and it's pretty much same coaches plus Kevin Stefanski. And most of the quarterbacks have played well. So under Mike Zimmer, and I do credit that a lot to Kevin Stefanski. So I don't see why it's impossible to regain that 2015 form for Brock Osweiler, which even, once again, it's not necessarily a great form to get into, but it's a game manager form. I don't think Minnesota needs much more than a game manager, and I think that's possibly the problem with Kirk Cousins. He doesn't want to be a game manager. He kind of has this, I think he has maybe this bad notion of being a game manager. So he kind of starts thinking, I need to make this play, I need to do that play. And I think that kind of brings us back to 1st and goal from the 8, where he threw it to the back corner of the end zone, forcing it, trying to get a touchdown in a crucial situation. So you might need a guy who's okay being just play within the system. Just do that and you'll be fine. They might just need a guy like that. It's not necessarily someone who thinks he might be better than he really is. And best case scenario is if we were to sign him, is Kirk ends up playing better and we never have to use him. So I really think if you're talking about an insurance policy, signing him to a veteran minimum deal, if it's possible, is a thing that you can do. And this is also a player that, once again, if you talk about this coaching staff, they not only went to war with this guy, but they kind of lofted him up. They kind of, propelled him up a little bit in meaningful games. Like, there was one game, the one I definitely remember from way back when, is the one about when they played New England in Denver in the snow, where he ended up, getting a game-tying touchdown at the end of the game to send it into overtime, and then C.J. Anderson just broke it. I remember thinking, there were actual things saying they should stick with Brock Osweiler over Peyton Manning for the playoffs. So with this coaching staff, I don't see why this would be a big problem. And I don't think you can get much better at this time of the year when you're talking about a backup quarterback kind of thing. And especially one with this kind of familiarity with everybody. So I think this would be not a bad addition. I know Brock Osweiler's name has a bad taste, just himself, because he kind of has a bad reputation now after getting paid all the money, kind of falling flat. But I think if you add him to be a game manager, if he is to enter the game, you will probably be fine if you have everything around him, which is what we have currently with Kirk Cousins, and Cousins is trying to do too much. I think that much was clear. And instead of just complaining about Kirk Cousins, I think we need to kind of take this other step of, well, we need a backup plan, and we also need to try to figure out, since we are stuck with this guy for this season and next season due to a fully guaranteed contract, how do we prop him up, so to speak? Instead of just complaining like he's horrible and not worth the money. I don't think that's necessarily the way to go about this. Where maybe adding a guy like Brock Osweiler could be a thing that could help. A guy who understands this system, who might be able to, help ease Kirk, even if he doesn't end up playing Brock Osweiler, that is. So you never know. But I don't think this would be a bad idea, and I do think they kind of do need an insurance policy, especially if this is to keep up, because you never know. I know it is early in the season. I don't want to play the whole "oh, sky is falling" kind of thing, but at the same time, you need to take it for what it is, and for what it is, Kirk played to a not NFL quarterback level. You know what I mean? So I'd like to know what your comments on this down below. That'd be cool. And liking and subscribing helps the channel, so also good. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.